Welcome to Spoon Press Audio, the podcast for your daily story fix with your host, author and award-winning entrepreneur, Anna Emm.
Don't Know Jack, Chapter 17. Charlotte Harding cries out when the shiny jellyfish tentacle curls around her palm. She yanks her hand from the water and clutches the wound, cursing. Her eyes sting with tears from the burn, and when she takes her hand away, the skin is blistered. "You have to stop doing that, dear," Edna Beducci says from the puddle at the bottom of the kayak, but Charlotte isn't listening. She grabs the paddle and, leaning out over the water surface again, she brushes the tentacles aside with the tip of the blade. But as soon as she does, more and more jellyfish pop up from the depths below. Frustrated, Charlotte sits back on her knees and cries out, "I can't see what's going on down there," she shouts. "I know you're upset, dear," Edna says behind her, "but there's nothing you can do. I told you, Jack has to—" "Oh, will you shut up?" Charlotte snaps. "You're just a bloody snapshot." And then she freezes as an idea suddenly lands. Twisting herself around, Charlotte quickly slips her rucksack from her back. "What are you doing?" Edna asks. Ignoring her, Charlotte opens the bag and scratches around until her hands find the cool familiar shape of the camera. She takes it out, opens it, and throws the bag aside. She slips the strap around her neck, and, camera in hand, she lifts herself again and leans out as far as she can, as far as the wobbling kayak allows. "Let's see what's really going on here, shall we?" she says, and lifts the camera to her face. Peering through the lens and pointing it down at the stuff in the water, Charlotte pulls the image into focus. Yes, she can see the crate under the water surface now. She begins to zoom in, closer and closer, the chain still wound around it. But, wait, no jellyfish? Frowning, Charlotte takes the camera away from her face. The water in front of her is clear. "Where did they go?" she mutters. The next moment there is a hard thud to the side of the kayak, and she loses her balance, tumbling forward and rescuing the camera just in time before it slips into the water. "What the heck?" she stammers, straightening. "Charlotte," Edna cries, "over here, the other side, quick!" Charlotte swings around, camera still in her hand. At first, she sees nothing, just the cobbling water of the dark river. And then, as she leans closer, "Jack!" she cries out and dives forward so suddenly the kayak nearly tips. She can see him. He's floating under the water, his eyes closed, his face turned up, his arms spread out. He's unconscious. "Jack! Oh God, Jack!" Frantically, she tries to grab him, but her arms are too short. She can't reach him. "No!" she cries and tries to lean in closer, but when she does, the kayak wants to tip over. She needs to jump in. She needs to dive him out. "But how will you get back into the boat?" Edna asks, reading her mind. "Oh, for fuck's sake," Charlotte cries, struggling with the camera as it keeps swinging in front of her, obstructing her efforts. She yanks it from her neck and is just about to discard it when she stops. It takes her only a split second to decide, and then, holding onto the strap, she lowers the camera into the water. Leaning over as far as she can, she only just manages to hook the camera around Jack's neck and pull him up. "Yes!" she cries as his face breaks the water. But the kayak tips under the sudden weight, and she has to lean back to steady it. Shit. Hang on, Jack, hang on." Out of the corner of her eye, she can see people gathering on the bank of the river, watching them. "Help!" Charlotte cries out at them. "We need help here!" She pulls with all her might, and as soon as Jack's shoulders come out of the water, she lets go of her hold on the strap and grabs for him. The camera slips and disappears under the water, but Charlotte clings to Jack's lifeless body with all her might. As the camera disappears into the dark depths of the river, she can feel it. suddenly and with certainty, without looking around. Edna Beducci is gone. She is alone in the kayak. She tries to pull Jack up, but each time the kayak tips and she has to lower him again. Sobbing, Charlotte clings to him, heaving, her arms cramping. "Oh, come on," she cries. "Come on." She can feel him slipping. "No, damn it, Jack." She tries to get a firmer grip, but he's heavy, dead weight, pulling her down. "One last pull," she mutters. "Come on, Charlotte, one last." She throws all her strength into it and pulls. And suddenly, to her surprise, the weight is gone and Jack comes out of the water like a root of a tree being pulled from the earth. The last thing Charlotte sees before she heaves him over the edge of the kayak are the 3 figures below him in the water. 2 women and a girl in an orange coat, their arms upstretched as if they had been giving him a push up. And then she falls backwards into the boat and Jack's full weight lands on top of her. Charlotte lies there, gathering her strength and fighting black waves of dizziness. And then, with strength she didn't know she possessed, she pushes him off. "Jack?" she asks as soon as he's rolled over. She's still gasping for breath, but all her focus is on him now. Is he breathing? "Jack?" she calls again, slapping against his pale cheeks. Nothing. She leans in and listens by his face. She can't hear him breathe. She feels for a pulse. Is it her imagination? But yes, faintly, there is a pulse. She moves his head to lie straight, covers his nose with her hand, and then leans in to blow into his mouth. By the 3rd try, his body starts convulsing and the water splurts out. "Oh, thank God," Charlotte mutters as he gasps for air and then starts coughing. She leans over him and closes her eyes as warm tears flow over her cheeks. When she looks up, his eyes are open. "Welcome back, Jack," she gasps and almost laughs with relief. "He's fine. He's going to be fine." But then her eyes land on his arm. It is bloody and raw. "You're bleeding," she exclaims. "What happened?" Jack turns his arm and frowns when he sees the blood. "Oh, it's just a scratch." "No, it's not. It looks like you've been caught in barbed wire. Geez, Jack." Charlotte grabs her rucksack and heaves a sigh of relief when she finds the packet of paper tissues she had thrown in there a few days ago. It is still sealed. She tears it open and presses a handful of the tissues against his arm to stop the bleeding. When she lifts it to inspect the wound, she frowns. "Are those words?" she asks, looking closer. "Did you do this?" "It's nothing," he says and tries to pull his arm away, but she holds on. "It says here," she reads, "and then, Jack." Wait, what is this last word? He hesitates. Their eyes meet. "Escaped," he says. Seconds tick by. They look at each other. "Geez, Jack," Charlotte stammers, feeling faint. "It's fine. I'm fine. He chokes up and the tears come. Charlotte flings her arms around him and hugs him tightly. For a long time they sit like that, while the kayak is slowly being carried along down the river. And by the time they hear the sirens and look up to see the ambulance arriving on the riverbank, it has started raining.
Hi there. Sorry to interrupt the story, but I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Lawrence, and I'm a big friend of Anna's. I've known her since we were 12, and I actually used to date her. She was my very first girlfriend. So I might be a little bit biased, but the reason why I'm here today is to let you know that her new story, Nutty Cake, is out now on Spoon Press Plus, and you can find it in the link in the episode description below. So I'll get out of your hair now, and you can get back to the story. Cheers.
3 females are standing in the ward of the hospital, facing the bed where Jack Forrester now sits, all bandaged up and propped against the pillows. His eyes are closed. He appears to be sleeping. Slowly, in synchronized unison, the grey-haired woman, the mute woman, and the little girl in the orange raincoat all turn their heads to the side to study him. "So what will happen now?" the girl asks. "The sky will turn again," the grey-haired woman says, "safely and securely and exactly as it should." She looks down at the book in her hands. She opens it and flips through the pages. Hundreds of pages filled with words again. 20 years from now, she says, Jack Forrester will sit down and write this story, and then the sky will turn. It is done now. But he hasn't written it yet, the girl frowns. And what isn't written yet can be changed, or stopped, or stolen. The grey-haired woman smiles. "Ah, but not this. Not anymore. Because Jack chose this. He didn't write it yet, but he chose it. He chose to live. He wrote it on his arm. It can't be changed." The mute woman turns to her and mimes the question. "And now? What happens to them now?" "We leave them," the grey-haired woman says. "Our work here is done. In time, they will forget about us and about what happened in the river. The scars on Jack's arm will fade, but the truth will remain. It is part of him now. He cannot live any other life than the one that will eventually lead him to write this book." "And that is it?" the mute woman mouths. "Oh, there will be so much more between now and then," the grey-haired woman smiles. "Our Jack will go back to working at the newspaper, and he will love it. He will also write his first book, soon. It will be a bestseller, as it is prophesied. He will write another and another. He will write 50 at least, until he writes this one." She hugs the book, The Turn of the Sky, to her chest. "And the girl," the mute woman insists, "what will happen to Charlotte Harding?" "Can't say," the grey-haired woman answers. "But if Edna's paintings are anything to go by, she will play a detrimental role in the arrest and conviction of Blake Butcher and that woman who presented herself as Susanna Bushkin, and she will go on to become a successful photographer." The girl's eyes grow wide. "And she and Jack? Will they—" She stops when Charlotte Harding herself enters the ward. She doesn't notice the three figures. With her eyes fixed on Jack, she walks up to his bed. It is clear from her face that she has received bad news. "Oh," the grey-haired woman says. "Oh, yes, and of course, this happened. Right about now. Yes, it makes sense. This is where she comes in to tell Jack that." The other two look at her questioningly. "Tell Jack what?" "This," the woman says, and indicates with her head. All three of them turn to see a man standing in the door behind them. "Mr. Beducci," all three of them say in unison. He looks at them, his blue eyes no longer cloudy but clear. The veil has been lifted. And while they look at him, his face changes. Right in front of their eyes, he becomes younger and younger, until gone is the old man, and in his place stands a boy, straight, shoulders back, face alive. "Where is she?" he asks. The three women hesitates. Then the girl with the raincoat lifts her hand and points. The boy turns, and behind him the door opens. Light streams through the door, illuminating their faces, and in the light a girl steps forward, sketchbook under her arm. Her smile is so wide it appears to split her face in two. "Hello, my love," she says. "How I have missed you." She holds out her hand. "Welcome home." The boy steps forward and without hesitation takes her hand. The three women can hear him laugh, and the sound of it ripples through the air and lifts their hair from their faces like a warm breeze, lingering even after the door and the light and the two children have gone. "Ah, don't we just love that?" the grey-haired woman smiles. The other two smile as well, and then all three women say at the same time, in perfect unison, It is the greatest of them all. 3 weeks later, Doris, the receptionist, steps out onto the front steps of the leisure centre. "Hey," she calls out when she sees the woman in the black hoodie appear at the bottom of the stairs. "Didn't I tell you not to come here anymore, young lady?" Doris is a large woman, formidable in posture as well as in voice, and most people would be intimidated by such a reprimand, but not Charlotte Harding. "Oh, it's okay," she grins up at Doris. "I'm with him." Doris narrows her eyes and puts her hands on her hips. "Who?" Just then, Jack comes jogging up, his duffel bag over his shoulder. "Sorry I'm late," he tells Charlotte and leans in to kiss her cheek. But then he notices Doris at the top of the stairs. "Oh, hi, Doris," he says. "Long time no see. Jack Forrester, remember?" "I remember," she grunts. "Not as if I could forget." She frowns. "You used to come in the mornings, yeah?" Jack grins. "Yeah, but I'm working now." Doris grunts. She nods toward Charlotte. "She with you then?" Jack looks at Charlotte, who grins up at him. A smile spreads across his face. "Yes, she's with me," he says. Doris rolls her eyes. "Well, don't let me keep you," she says, and then she turns and goes in through the glass doors. Jack slips his arms around Charlotte and pulls her to him. "Sorry again," he says, and kisses her on the nose. "The bus was slow." She says and sighs. "Poor man's problems." Jack grins and kisses her on the lips. She slips her hands around his neck and kisses him back, and when she releases him again, Jack says, "I can skip the swim, you know. We can go to the flat instead." "Don't even try," Charlotte warns playfully. "You promised me 2-for-1 burgers after the swim, and besides, I came all this way to see you in your Speedo. I won't be deprived." Jack laughs. 50 laps, he says. "That's all you get. And then, burgers." "Deal," she says. Charlotte links her arm in his, and together they go up the steps to the leisure centre's entrance. Behind them, the sun is setting over the tops of the trees, turning the sky orange. 3 figures stand across the street, watching as Jack and Charlotte enter through the glass doors. "We really should be leaving them to it now," the girl in the orange raincoat says. "They will be fine." "Yes," the mute woman agrees. "They will." "We should go," the girl says. "Yes," the mute woman agrees. "We should." The grey-haired woman dusts her hands in front of her and says, "Well then, there are many more Jacks out there for us to see too." And yet they remain standing just a little while longer, looking up at the glass doors. The setting sun has now caught the glass and is reflecting it back at them, as it should. All has been restored. The sleeper has turned and now dozed off again. But oh, how beautiful it all is from where they are standing. And then, just before they turn and disappear, all 3 of them conclude in perfect unison, "It really is a very common name."